want to backtrack with you.
Yeah.
You were good with Todd Gordon.
I was good with Todd, and I was great with Eddie.
Okay. So then Eddie leaves.
Right. I was there that night. And
Mhm.
all I can say is this. I don't know if nobody's ever said it, but Paul's very lucky that Doug didn't put him through a wall, because Doug Gilbert was pissed off beyond repair, just really. And I thought it was going to erupt into something, ugly, but it didn't. And
You
I
have
don't
to
know
explain why, though.
why.
Why was Doug so pissed at Paul?
Not because Paul fired Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
Paul
Okay.
took Eddie's place. Now,
Right.
I don't know the circumstances. I've heard a lot of different things. Doesn't concern me. My thing is, I can sum up my time there with the fact that I never went in through that back door. I answered where the people go in every time, because I had a wife. I married her. I met her in '89. We got engaged in a year and married in '91. So I've been with her forever. I've been guilty of many things, but I have never, ever been unfaithful to my wife. I don't go in places where there's women. I don't go to bars. I don't go to clubs.
Good for you.
I did all that. I bounced for 12 years, 8 years in Manhattan. So, I mean, there's no good comes from, and I'm a Christian. We don't do that.
Right.
So my point is, they knew how I was then, and that I had a wife, and I didn't bring my wife one week and then have a rat with me the next week, or have my wife one week and cozying up to one of the whatever. I didn't live my life like that. I didn't want to see it. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be privy to it. I don't want to know nothing. There was many times I stayed in the hotel across the street from where everybody was staying. That's
Mm-hmm.
various places, because I didn't need somebody knocking on my door at 3 o'clock in the morning with a crack pipe. Open it.
So did the boys look at you as being antisocial in
No,
that
because
respect?
no, no, because Hack and I got in trouble for hanging out together in Philly when he was supposed to be blind, and everybody, how serious they took it back then.
Right.
And we got heat from whoever got back to Todd or Paulie, that because we hung out together. My wife, Lori, and him, we stayed
Yeah.
at their house. They went shopping together. We were tight,
Right.
and but here's the thing, all right, and I don't want to dwell 100% on ECW, because so many other things are going on in my life that are so positive. But I'll say this, and I say this with confidence, that there's not too many people that will rebuke this or have a rebuttal. Paul would have liked to have gotten rid of me a lot sooner, right? I wouldn't quit until I felt I was ready to go, and he wouldn't fire me. And I'll tell you why. He was scared to death of me. Okay, the people that knew me knew that there really wasn't anybody in that locker room that can challenge me, and that's for real. I don't care who's this and who's a gangster and all. Let somebody tell me otherwise, and with one leg today, I'll whip their ass. And I hate to be like that, but when you got these phony tough guys walking around, I look around today and I see what everybody looks like, and I've been through hell, right? And I don't touch anything. I smoke my weed, and that's all I do. No pills, no nothing. So, somebody came up to me. I'm not going to mention any names. You were there. Somebody came up to me and asked me for drugs. And that's the only reason the person was there. And I said, he goes, Cairo, you always got drugs. I go, bro, that's fucking 30 years ago. Excuse my language. It's 30 years ago. What do you mean? So there are some of those people are still living that same life. And I didn't do that. I'm not snorting cocaine off of hookers' asses. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So you're not a problem, from what I understand. You go to
No.
work. Okay, you go to work. You do your job.
Yeah.
You don't argue about the angle, whatever is thrown at you. You're a team player. You do it. Why did you have such a problem with Paul?
I don't know. There's something that he didn't like about me, and it was evident. And like I said, and I stood up and opened my mouth so many times in that locker room. And I'm going to tell you, here's the thing. When you see Paul standing up there on that, stairway in that one video, and you see Terry Funk looking up at him, I'm like, even Terry Funk was mesmerized. I don't get it. I don't get it. What did Paul do that was so great? He ripped off a lot of people. He hurt good people in the business, like Dennis Corluzzo. Here's the guy that goes into business for himself because he doesn't know what it's like to be in the ring. He's not a worker. He never got his ass whooped every Saturday night or handed one out. And that's the way I work. I work, it's a fight. And, and I was happy to do that. And I did anything they asked within reason. But I was going when I wanted to go. And the truth is, I walked out because I couldn't walk. My back was shot at the time. I needed to. I couldn't even go to work on my regular job. So I mean, I'm just saying that Todd, I think, should have held on to some more guys. And when they say, "Oh well, it didn't do anything till Paul got there," really? Look at some of the matches. Look at some of the Singapore Canyon matches. Match I had with Dreamer all over the building, and tell me that they weren't drawing. We're doing the same 12, 1300, whatever it was. And we were doing just as good with Eddie. And then that happened. And then for me, for a lot of other guys, it was good. It's like anything else. When the changing of the guard comes sweep clean, new broom sweeps clean. Boom. And they bring your guys in. And I have no problem with that. But there was a lot of shit going on that I didn't like. They knew I didn't like it. So maybe therefore they looked at me like I was definitely not a prude. I mean, it's not that. But I have a wife. I bring her with me here. I'm not coming back next week without her and doing anything I'm not supposed to do.
Right.
I'm not going to be. And there's a lot of shit that went on that should never have went on. And I look at it like this. I'm not naming anybody any names, just in general. Yeah, anytime you have a girl who's either underage and you have more than one guy in a room. First of all, I don't know what kind of lifestyle these people lead, but I think you got to be a half a fag to want to be in a room with another guy and a girl, let alone 3 girls, 3 guys. I don't know, whatever. Maybe that's cool. Maybe they think that's cool. That sounds like schoolboy stuff. You know what I'm saying? Not a lifestyle to live, the rest of your life. And I don't know that they all do, but I see a lot of sorry looking people. And I'm just glad that I made the cut. I got my act together.
And I understand that, right? But that shouldn't interfere with what goes on at work. To me, that's like leisure time, right? And I'm not saying it's correct. I'm not saying it's a right way to live or with whatever. But what happens at the arena should not affect you the way, like, if you hung out afterwards, know what I mean? Like a lot of stuff, so to speak, might have been swept under the rug or whatever, because it's the boys. And like, we've all seen stuff. I've seen things that I just shook my head and wasn't a part of. But it's the boys, and that was the excuse all these years. The boys will be the boys or whatever.
Well, what happens when it's later in life and you're a father now and you got girls? Listen, we cannot deny the fact that throughout the history of pro wrestling, there are broken women.
Oh, no, well, stop. I am not justifying.
No, I know you're not.
Might have or might not have happened to any of those girls, or what, a lot of this stuff I wasn't privy to because I wasn't on the party side.
Right, exactly.
I didn't do the drugs or excessive alcoholism and stuff like that. Like, that wasn't my scene, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm still sitting here today.
Well, that's why you didn't see a lot of it. And
no, I did. I mean, but what my question to you is, you didn't want to come around that, and I understand that, and that's very admirable of you. But when you get to the wrestling part, Like you had that whole thing with Sandman. I'm eating peaches in the backyard. Like I remember that promo. I laughed like hell at that promo. I thought it was very clever. Stuff like that. Do you feel like if Paul did not come in and Eddie still had the book, do you feel like that company would have taken off the way it did when Paul came into play? Because you seem like I'm not knocking your opinion. Everybody's allowed an opinion, but I feel like you're just not giving Paul enough credit for taking it to the next level. And even Todd said, because I love Todd to death, and what happened between those two, that's their thing, you know. But when somebody asks, Todd's always like, "Well, Paul took it to the next level."
Okay, well, I mean, that? No, but that doesn't mean anything more than he took it to the next level. I mean, there was nothing.
Why didn't you're saying to me like that scene from Beyond the Mat when Paul is standing on the staircase in the back, right? And we're all standing there and we're all looking at him with love in our eyes. That was and you're making a face right now.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing.
I can explain why I felt the way I did. It was because it was our first pay-per-view. And when I started there, like they were giving away hot dogs and soda to get people in the building. And then to see us get so far as to do a pay-per-view, it made me proud to be part of the company.
But in the end, you beat people out of money that never got paid back.
I understand, but you're fast forwarding.
Yeah, but it's all the person that I saw and what I saw, what I experienced. Sorry.
So you saw it earlier, is what you're saying.
Never tell me on him. Never.
No. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to explain to you my feeling that evening.
Yeah, and you're welcome to your feeling. We can't like everybody the same. I mean,
sure.
You know, and I was a young man who wanted to show. I showed my respect from day one. Dave Yohannan just made a comment. How long he's known me since I was a kid. I'm respectful. I love the business. But I just don't see what it's just not that big a deal. I mean, just cause it took off the way it did. It was something different at a time where something different was needed. It was already being done in Japan for years already. That's where he got the idea. And you took a lot of guys that built the company coming from TWA and then starting up with Todd that were still pretty good, and a lot of them were as good as the guys that Paul replaced them with. But it's like I said, the changing of the guard, and I wasn't part of that. But there was more to it. And instead of just telling me what it was, you tried to bury me, and I wouldn't let that happen. Put me in a hard hat, do this, do that. You got me at 1 week. I'm a month. I'm on top, and the next minute you want me to put Chad Austin over. No problem. I put him over. I don't care. You know.
Right.
But I just don't see the big deal. I see a guy that's on TV that's making obviously a lot of money and never even made an attempt to let me look and see my list because you never kept one because you didn't care because you weren't going to worry about paying people back. I wasn't owed. I'm not owed anything, but man, I hear it. It's not like it's not true. I know of somebody that I know for sure. And it's quite a bit of money, and some of them are dead. So that to me that doesn't ring true as a good person to me.
I understand your opinion. I was trying to get out of you the discrepancies between the two of you because you were a little vague in the beginning, but now you're opening up a little more and you're telling me he's putting you in these gimmicks that you don't like. You have to put people over, but you do it because you're a team player. So in other words, your relationship with Paul was strictly like a boss and an employee, and you're basically doing everything he's telling you to do, and you felt like he was burying you in the process.
Well, I felt like he was trying to, but that didn't happen because I took the stupid hard hat and work jacket and just wore it and came in, and Peaches wore one, and nobody laughed, nobody liked it, but it just wasn't. It made no sense. None of it made any sense. You took a guy that came in with chaps and leather jacket and do-rag, and I was in shape. I could do just about anything. You want me to
Mhm.
cut myself? I'll cut myself. I didn't care. And when Todd saw me, he even said it on the timeline thing. He said, I went down, brought Damian Stone with me, little Guido. He said they looked like they were working for 10 years together. They tore the house down, and I hired him immediately. So what
Right.
happened to that? What happened to that? See, that's my point. Like, I was there, and then I wasn't. And it was a matter of everything changing. And I think with Eddie, and I can't say whether or not he would have destroyed it, or it would have done good, or would. And I'll tell you the truth: if things were different and things had gone differently, and could have been utilized to my abilities, it could have been a different story. And if Paul didn't fail and end up bankrupt and end up owing people money, maybe I'd have a different opinion of the things that I've seen over the years. I just don't. Not a favorite person of mine.
I get it.
And obviously, I wasn't a favorite person of his. So listen,
So it's
that's
mutual.
all right. That's all right. I mean, I see Todd. I saw Todd this week. I love Todd. I mean,
Me too.
I just think it was a better company, and I think it had a better feel to it. And I think a lot of the shit that came along with it was. I mean, look at. I can't say it. You
can say whatever you want.
I don't want to hurt anybody. You can't deny the condition of some of the people that we know in this business. We just saw them last week.
Yes, I know. I think I know who you're referring to.
It's a group that all comes from the same place, and nothing has changed in 30 years.
Hey there, it is the Queen of Extreme, Francine from ECW. Do you want to see more of me? Click over here to watch another video, or click over here to listen to my podcast. As always,